The book of Proverbs says that wisdom is more valuable than rubies, silver, or gold. Given the choice, though, if you placed both of those things on the counter in front of us, it might be hard to choose. As the country song says, money can't buy me happiness, but it can buy me a boat. That it's much harder to put our hands around wisdom. But if we take a deep breath and we think back over our lives and all of the twists and the turns and the value that wisdom has been to us, it helps us choose. For wisdom leads us in right paths. It protects us against great harm. It calms our fears. It gives us peace. That wisdom is more valuable than rubies, silver, or gold. And it's why we find the same shared wisdom throughout the world. That despite the differences in culture and tradition, wisdom translates. As we oftentimes say, a bird in the hand is worth more than two in the bush. That instead of wanting more, it is wise to be grateful for what we have. That if we wait too long, hoping to get two birds, we might end up with none. And we find this same wisdom around the world, where in Sweden they say, rather one bird in the hand than 10 in the woods. In Spain, a bird in the hand is better than 100 flying in the sky. Or in Poland, a sparrow in the hand is better than a pigeon on the roof. Or in Russia, better a titmouse in the hand than a crane in the sky. Wisdom translates because it's more valuable than rubies, silver, or gold. And we could carry on a long debate about what made Solomon wise. But at least one reason would be that he knew to ask for it. Knowing we need wisdom is as important as having it. That he was this young king standing in the shadow of his father David, and he was unsure, uncertain, and unsteady. So he would visit these high places, which the passage insinuates was ill-advised. People worship all the gods at these high places, but at a local high place in Gideon, he had a revelation. The Lord said to him, "Ask what I should give to you." And Solomon did not ask for rubies, silver, or gold. He did not seek power or prestige. He could have asked for many things. And he asked for a discerning mind. One translation has Solomon saying, "I am young and inexperienced, and I know next to nothing." And it's out of that uncertainty, out of that humility, that he asks for a discerning mind. And wisdom is never self-serving. Discernment always accounts for the needs of others. It's why in his diary, which went on to be a classic in spirituality, Doc Hammarskjöld writes, "What gives life value can be found and lost but never possessed. And it's the same with wisdom. We can find it and lose it, but never possess it. Because it's rooted in the steadfast love of God, which never belongs solely to us. And it's why wisdom always turns us outward towards the needs of others. And it's why wisdom so often is not obvious. That if we go looking for something that is solely beneficial to us, wisdom eludes us. We'll never see wisdom standing there with a big old sign that says, "Wisdom found here." And it's why Jesus teaches in parables. A subtle whisper, inviting us to see what is not always obvious. He talked about sowing seeds, pulling weeds, and casting nets. That parables are like wisdom. They teach valuable lessons, but it's not always obvious. The parables seem safe enough until we use them. And then they change us like wisdom does. It's like the woman baking bread, where the kingdom of heaven is like yeast in the flour. It just takes a little bit of flour, a little bit of yeast to change a whole lot of flour. That you almost can't see it. It's hidden, but it is at work, making the bread rise, changing everything. That wisdom is rather quiet, almost hidden. And when we see it, it doesn't seem like much. Just a little bit of grace here. Just try some of the ways of Jesus there. But before we know it, it changes us, opening us up to the needs of others around us. It's like yeast, almost hidden, that we don't know where to look for it, but it is there, building community, anticipating the needs for others, and guiding us in the most life-giving ways. So where is it at work doing such things? It's like the parent who quietly drops a note in a child's lunchbox that says, "You rock. We love you so much." Or it's like the prayers that our loved ones say regularly about us, but we never hear. And they constantly surround us, praying for us to make good decisions, to have meaningful experiences, to discover the richness of God's steadfast love. Or it's like the stillness that we find in silence, which we might want to avoid. But when we embrace it, we find the treasures of hope, peace, and strength. Or it's like that journal entry we scratch into our journals late at night, where we can be fully honest with God and also with ourselves about how we feel and the questions we have. That we will not find wisdom by asking ChatGPT. Because wisdom is incarnational. where the Word becomes flesh. That we find it in the hands and feet of others. I remember when we were reading all of those books about how to be a parent, to know what to expect when you are expecting. And they just recommended all these different things. And we would sit up late at night talking about them. One book says, if the child's tired, let them sleep. Another book would say, set up a strict sleep schedule and never depart from it. But then the next book would say, wake the child up on the minute when it is time to eat. Whereas the next book would say, never wake a sleeping child. And I remember we went to church confused, frustrated. We were telling someone who worked in the nursery, and she was patient and listened carefully to us. But as we went on and on and on, she finally looked at us and said, just throw the books out. And instead, we started to talk to other parents who were on that same road with us or who'd been down that road before. And we discovered quiet wisdom in what they shared with us. That we have to learn to talk to one another, to be in conversation with one another about our lives and their lives, to share and learn from one another in order to foster wisdom. People who say to us, yes, I know, but this is the path that is life-giving. Or who share with us, you will not believe the beauty that I have seen on this road. Or someone who keeps saying, just keep going. You will understand why further down the way. That we need others to unearth God's wisdom. Because it's like the yeast in the flour. It is hidden, but it makes the bread rise. Amen.